Facebook created a social havoc when it launched.
Now we're at 100,000 people. Who knows where we're going next?
What started from a dorm room in Stanford became the world's first real social network. It hit 1 million users in just 10 months, a scale unheard of at that time. Millions jumped on the app and the numbers grew year on year on year, until it stopped, the dreaded 90 million mark. The rocket ship hit a barrier and Facebook thought they would never cross this slump. But one man and his growth circle would change Facebook's growth fortune and also the way social products are built in the future. Let's dig in. To understand Facebook's slump, we need to rewind a little. You see, when Facebook was launched in 2004, people were confused about how did it grow so big so quickly. Social products had existed before, but none had seen this scale. Facebook had managed to unleash network effects, something other products couldn't. Network effects would become core to how they solved their 90 million user problem in 2008. So let's understand network effects first. The idea is simple. It's a mechanism where every new user on the product makes the product more valuable to every other user. Consider this. Behind all the friend requests, connections and likes, there are nodes and links. Nodes are participants and the links are connections between them. When strong links are established between two nodes, it forms a strong connection. They tend to keep adding more nodes to the network. And while there are many types of network effects, Facebook unfurled the personal network effect. This arises from the interpersonal tribal impulse of humans to build connections with others. It's this impulse that gets people to join and stick with the network because their friends are also a part of it. The more people used Facebook, the more valuable the network became for each person using it, and the less they wanted to defect to another network where they would have to start from scratch. And then there's the critical mass. This is where the value produced by the network exceeds the value of the product itself and the competition. But this is where Facebook was stuck. 90 million, just before the critical mass. The problem statement was clear. Break the 90 million slump and grow Facebook exponentially. They tried a bunch of experiments, but everything failed massively. Like Project Beacon, the new advertising platform which raised tremendous privacy concerns. Facebook shut it down within a month and Zuckerberg apologized publicly. But then the Facebook fortune changed. Enter Chamat Paliyapithya, the flamboyant, on-your-face, larger-than-life guy brought in to solve Facebook's troubles. Zuckerberg knew Chamat from his VP days at AOL, and Chamat came in with an interesting idea. He wanted to build a growth team, something unheard of in 2008. And so he brought in heavy hitters. James Wang, Naomi Gleit, Alex Schultz, Javier Olivan, and Blake Ross. He brought in all-stars to be a power center in the company, and they had a special status and a distinct subculture. Together, they formed Facebook's growth circle, who would solve their 90 million user problem. The circle quickly figured out 4 major problem areas that was bugging Facebook: the North Star metric, the core value proposition, onboarding, and engaging and retaining their users. They saw that the startup ecosystem was obsessed with daily active users, but figured out that the real North Star metric was monthly active users. Focusing on value creation for users over a long period of time was key than to go for short-term wins. The hypothesis was that if someone stayed consistently on Facebook for a full month, they were likely there to stay and not drop off anytime sooner. This was good to reshape the team's thinking, but wouldn't move the 90 million metric instantly. So they really tried to understand the core value proposition of Facebook. Turns out it wasn't apps, games, or messaging. It was connections. People connecting with people. Network effects, remember? This is where they struck gold. With clarity on core value proposition and the North Star metric, they came up with a 3-step framework to solve their 90 million problem. First, how do they get people in? Second, how to get them to an aha moment as quickly as possible. And third, how to make users experience the core value proposition as frequently as possible. So they got started. A smooth and easy onboarding would solve for people getting in. Introducing them to the core value prop, a friend in this case, would be the quickest way to give users an aha moment. And the most interesting of it all, they understood that if they could connect a user with 7 friends in their first 10 days, they would become an active Facebook user. And this laid the foundation for the most important growth experiment for Facebook. Facebook launched People You May Know. They launched it silently in 2008, And it did exactly what it sounds like. It gave people a curated list of names that they might actually know, nudging them to send a friend request. Seeing a long list of old college friends, childhood friends, work colleagues, and long lost relatives made them connect instantly and made them keep coming back to Facebook. It was the perfect aha moment for people. The network effect started operating with full force, getting more nodes in and making a denser network. Some nodes became clusters, forming subcultures and clubs of their own. This is where the magic lied. It created a beautiful growth loop. Because the North Star metric was aligned to the core value prop, it kept feeding into each other. The more people connected monthly, the longer they stayed on the platform. And it became a self-fulfilling growth loop. A simple framework allowed Facebook to hypothesize on the 7-friend activation metric. Not only did they improve onboarding on Facebook, but also solve for user acquisition in the process. This kept boosting their network effects and made Facebook's network denser. People you may know did wonders for improving the retention numbers and boosted the value of Facebook for new users. This genius growth loop made sure that Facebook's 90 million user slump was over. The next year saw monthly active users rising meteorically, and Facebook went on to acquire millions of users after that. Facebook solved this as a real growth problem. They followed their user, they understood the core value of the product, they understood the real North Star metric, they improved onboarding with a classic 3-step framework, and they brought in features that were inspired by their North Star metric, which helped in retention, and they built a top-notch growth team. You see, you should never discount network effects. They could by far be the best strategy to create defensibility around your product. Think about it. How can you take network effects and implement it on your own product?